Okay. Go interact as yourself and not the 100-fold.
Too late.
What do you mean?
I'm live, so just text me questions.
Okay, bye.
Hello, Doug here from 100FoldJourney. It's 6:37. Sorry that we were having some technical difficulties. We were thinking that we would be able to have multiple people share and talk, but all that we have available to us is just texting. So sorry, it was a misunderstanding on our part as to how this works. So I see that Katie's online. Hey, Katie, thanks for jumping on. Who else is online that can hear me at this time? And so this was a time for questions and answers, basically to ask me some questions as well as our leadership team. But again, unfortunately, we're not able to hear them. We're thinking that maybe in the future, maybe we would do a Zoom meeting instead. So you guys might be, that might work a little bit better for us. And it looks like Rashi's online as well. Hello, Rashi. And Joe Gardell is here. Awesome. Thanks, Joe. Hello, Joe. Yeah, so I had posted an introductory video last night for the 100-fold to watch so that they could get an idea about what the 100-fold journey was about. And a lot of it was, well, not a lot of it, all of it was my story and my history and how 100-fold came about. And honestly, I was hoping to be able to have some of the other leadership team be able to kind of speak. And again, that was one of the thoughts that we had, is we'd be able to use Facebook and have multiple people talking. But unfortunately, that's not the case. But I'm here to answer questions. Hopefully that you've already done the 21 days of gratitude. And if you have, then give me a thumbs up. I'd like to hear from you. And also to hear if, you know, maybe what day was more challenging than the other. And also to hear if you've seen a change in your thought process and, you know, how you see life in general. So again, love to hear you comment in the comment section here. But in light of that, the other thing is, like, to make sure that you guys have been on our website, which has a lot more details on it. That is the100FoldJourney.com, and it basically describes the leadership team. And we've got six people in all. We have Katie, we have Rashi, we have Joe, we have Rich, and we have Marissa, and then of course myself makes the sixth person. So one of the questions was, tell us more about your journey after you started to find your path. So so Katie, thank you for that question. So in 2011, as I mentioned in the video, I basically got burned out from religion. So the path that has gotten me to where I am today is actually a combination of, and I'm going to say it's 6 different paths, and that's the 6 different people that are part of this journey. So what I discovered was the importance of my mind. So there's a lady named Caroline Leaf that talks about renewing your mind, switching on your brain. In fact, that's her book, Switch on Your Brain. And it talked about the chemicals and neural pathways in your mind and in your brain, that a negative thought actually has a negative impact on your neural paths. And it actually creates, if you will, a bad tree, if you will. because if the way they kind of describe and the way the neural pathways look and memories look, it actually looks like a tree that has branches in it and so forth. And the more attention you give to a given tree, and let's just say it's negative, then it's going to grow larger. Now I'm using my hands, thinking it's big, but in reality it's in your brain. But the very fact of knowing that a negative thought would actually change me chemically and the way I think, um, caused me to switch on my brain. Now I had to control my thoughts. I had to be in charge of my thoughts, because our thoughts tend to run away from us and live out of the physical, because that's where the mind is. It's always about the physical, fight or flight, those types of thoughts. So basically, that was one of the paths that I was on, was seeing the impact that my thoughts had on my life, and that I had a choice and not to be a victim. So the second one, and by the way, the leader that kind of represents that the most on our group, his name is Rich, and he would talk about that at a later time. So be catching some videos of him talking about that in more detail. And then the next one is about friendships and how important friendships are in my life, and whether it's friends or family, and the gentleman that represents that, his name is Joe, and he's going to be talking about friendships, but just because we can't do this life alone, and that was part of my burnout in 2011, was that I didn't have a whole lot of friends, and so connecting with key people was really important to the healing process. And actually, Joe was a big part of that. So Joe, thank you for that. Um, so what I ended up doing is creating a network of people that I surrounded myself with that could help me with that, and became close friends. So that is a big part of my change since 2011. So the next path, so those are two paths, right? So the third path is represents um, gratitude. It represents journaling, um, and that started with a book called The Magic. And what that was, it was a 28-day challenge, similar to the 21-day gratitude challenge, but it basically had a daily challenge similar to what we're doing, right? It talks about money, it talks about relationships, and I started doing that. And again, the book is 28 days, and I read that book 14 different times. So I did it 14 different times when I doing that challenge for 28 days. And that's how toxic I was. And it took me that long to kind of get into the rhythm of 10 points of gratitude, and being thankful at night and thankful during the day, and not being anxious or worried. So that was a big part of it. And then the big part of it too was not only doing the 10 blessings in the morning, but also journaling, and just talking about my life and what I was grateful for, and the events that occurred, answer to prayer, that type of thing. So that's what Marissa is, the person that best represents that aspect. It's journaling, and it's the gratitude list, and it's keeping your mind focused. And again, that book was called The Magic. It was the same author of The Secret, and it's Rhonda Byrne is the author of that. So a really good book. Again, I read it. I did it 14 times, so it was very transforming. So then the next one on my path, my journey that I was on, was talking about meditation, and I found that prayer changed for me because it was no longer about begging and pleading God. and begging him to forgive me and pleading for things, that my relationship with God changed because I viewed him differently. Now, because of that, I started to meditate. And I know as a Christian, the word meditation was kind of scary at first, but as I started to do it, it's not like you release your mind and your thoughts. It's just you go into a quiet space. And in fact, some of the teaching that I do, and in fact, day 5, I think, is the temple. So we're the temple of God. And actually, as you look at the temple, it's actually a picture of our body. But the Holy of Holies is where the Ark of the Covenant and the mercy seat is. And that's where the dwelling place of God is. And that actually represents our mind. And God sits between the two cherub, the two angels. And the word cherub is also cerebrum, which is the two halves of our brain. And if you'll remember the ark, they actually look down upon the Ark of the Covenant, and that's the dwelling place of God. Well, guess where that is? It's right here. So the meditation is where you go inside the closet, inside the inner chamber. So rather than it being a one-way dialogue, just me talking to God and saying, I want this, I want that, it was more of being of quiet and being still and listening for God's voice. And I found a peace that transcends all understanding, that came upon me because I started doing that, and it changed. It just changed. I'm not sure a best way to describe it, but it brought a peace and a contentment. And I no longer was pursuing God, saying, "Okay, God, give me this, give me that." It was more just quiet and then waiting to see what He would say about certain things. And He actually would give me guidance and direction. There were things that I would think of in the stillness and the quietness that all of a sudden, bam, a thought came. It's like, wow, that was really a good idea. And I knew it didn't come from me, it came from Him because I was meditating. So anyways, that's, and that person that best represents that is Katie. And interestingly enough, Katie has also introduced me. I wasn't aware of this before, but crystals are in the Bible. And crystals were actually used for the breastplate of the high priest. There's actually 12 crystals that were on the breastplate of the high priest in the Old Testament. And she actually worked in a crystal shop, so she knew everything about it. And all of a sudden we were talking about the breastplate, and she said, "Oh, those are crystals." So it turned out that crystals are kind of reminding us of some of the truths of who God is, that He's our strength and He's our wisdom and He's our healing. I mean, all of those crystals represent those different modalities of God. So Katie represents that journey that I was on, specifically meditation, but then now crystals have kind of come into it. So you can see kind of a path that I've been on, right? It was renewing my mind. It's about gathering around friends. It was about the morning, the blessings and the journaling and the gratitude, and then with the meditation with Katie. And then with Rashi, which is our sixth person, it was talking about how we are one, that I learned for so long with religion that it was us against them. It was good versus evil. It was, Christianity against the world. And what I have found is that, there is one faith and there is one God, and we are united with Him. We are one with Him. And it may look different to different people, but there is one faith, and that is faith in God through Jesus Christ. And so Rashi has discovered that for herself, but then because of that, she's brought in other beliefs or thought patterns about reflection, that we're a reflection of God, and that different aspects of God that she brings to it. So that path I was on for quite a while, just looking at different ways of hearing about who God is and how He manifests Himself in different ways. So actually, the sixth person is me, and I come from the Christian background, right? So, in 2011, I mentioned that I burned out. That was because I was on this Christian roller coaster, up and down, trying to please God, trying to do everything possible to try to please God. Read my Bible, do the tithing, go to church, be a small group leader and all of that. But what I was teaching was about an angry God, and that, God needed to punish us, and He had to, we had to do all the right things in order for Him to bless us. And if we didn't do the right things, then we would be cursed. And I mentioned this in my video about a job that I was working on, and I was doing all the right things. I was, you know, I was going to church, and I was tithing, and I was doing my Bible study in the morning, my quiet time. I was praying and all this, and I thought I was doing all the right things. I know I was doing all the right things, and then that job just crashed. It went away. So I was raising my hand to God, saying, God, how could you let that happen? I did all the right things, and then it fell apart. How could you do this to me? So I was blaming God. I was the victim. And so it was that, on top of other things, that I just basically got burned out. So I kind of walked away from it for a while. And again, the journey or the path that I've been on are these six paths. And the sixth one is, again, sorry, I kind of interrupted myself. The sixth one is myself and going back to the Bible, and going back to the original, the Hebrew and the Greek, and understanding some of the key words. And the verse that really changed it for me was 1 John 4:17, where it says, "As He is, so I am in this world." That was a key verse for me, because I had never heard that before. I've been a Christian for 35 years up to that point, 30 years up to that point, and I never heard a verse that talked about that. Never heard a preacher says that I am Jesus. He is in me. We are one. We are united. I hadn't heard that. It was all about me striving and working to try to get closer to God and doing all the right things so He would be pleased with me. But that wasn't it at all. It was a gift that was given to me and says, here, Doug, I am you, you are me, we are one, we are united. John chapter 14 talks about that, and that His glory has been given to me. And somehow I missed all that. I don't know whether I didn't hear it or my ears weren't open. And then the other one was the new covenant, that there's actually a new covenant that talks about not the old covenant with the 10 commandments and the sacrifices and cursings and blessings, but the new covenant, which is your sins and lawless deeds I will remember no more. And for me, back in 2011, it was about confessing. Oh, if I didn't confess my sins, then God would be separate from me. He would say, there's a barrier, we've lost fellowship, your relationship with me is broken until you come back and you confess. So I was always confessing and, kneeling at my bed at night, praying and weeping. But all of that is religion. All of that is old covenant. All of that is me striving to reach God, when it's actually the other way around. God has reached me, and He has chosen me. I've been adopted, I've been chosen, I'm His temple, I'm His body, I'm His ambassador. He's done everything for me. So that's my new understanding now. So the six paths that got me to where I am at today is 1 John 4:17, as He is, so I am in this world. It's rich with the neurochemicals in the mind, and how I'm doing damage to my brain when I'm not thinking correctly. Surrounding myself with good friends. Doing the meditating and the journaling, especially in the morning. Doing the meditating and understanding that we are one, that it's not us against them, that we are a united family, a united faith, and we all need to come together and just be that life-giving spirit to other people, and to love on people and be their light. I heard a really good statement today, and I really like this, is the best way to live in the hundredfold life. And again, all of this is about the hundredfold life. And if you go to the video, you can see what that means. But just real quick, it's about the seed and the sower in Mark chapter 4, where we plant the seeds, and some of the seeds land on rocky soil, some of it lands on shallow soil, some of it grows up for a little bit and then it gets choked out. But then some of the seed falls on good soil, and the good soil produces a crop. It yields 30, 60, and 100-fold. A 100-fold journey is living from the Spirit, being a life-giving Spirit, and producing a 100-fold crop. So that's the whole idea of this, is to bring um, those that join to come alongside of them and say, hey, if you're burnt out with religion like I was, if you're looking for new purpose and your identity and who God is, because again, my identity of who God was, He was an angry God, and I had to repent and I had to confess and I had to do in order to be who I already was. But then all that changed. So now I'm living out of the Spirit, and it's from rest. It comes from rest, not from doing. I don't have to do in order to be who I already am. I just rest in who I am. And that is, I'm a child of God. He lives in me. He's living through me. And in fact, He is living His life. He is living His life through me. So my eyes, when I see, when I touch, when I speak, it's as if He is speaking through me. And the way I know that is because it comes from love. God is love. So when I am operating in love, it is God just, boom, we are just right dead center. So that's where the changes come into my life, just knowing that I'm one. And again, it's not anything I'm doing. It's not, there's nothing that I can do, negative or positive. If I do everything perfect, it's not going to change God's opinion of me. If I do everything terrible, it's not going to change God's opinion of me, because He loves me regardless. It's about a relationship. And thank you, Katie. It's not a religion, it's a relationship, exactly. So, so knowing that I am one with Him, I don't have to strive or work. Now, some people might think, oh, well, that's a license to sin. I mean, God's forgiven you and you can do whatever you want. And the actual true answer is, you are absolutely correct. You can do whatever you want. God's opinion is not going to change about you. So then you give that a thought a little bit, and you go, wow, you mean I can do anything I want, but God loves me unconditionally. He loves me so much that He actually demonstrated that love by dying for me because of that love. Now, do I really want to go do something stupid? Why would I want to do that when I'm loved and He's given me everything for life and godliness? So it gives us power to overcome sin, the desire to sin or to do stupid things. It's not because I have to, it's because I want to. And it's because of everything that He's done for me. He first loved me. It's not because of my love for Him, it's because of His love for me. And that gives me the power to say no to those stupid things. It's like, why would I want to? I'm His bride. In fact, one of the challenges, and we're at 7 o'clock here, so we probably want to wrap this up in a little bit, but we're going to be doing 21 days of identity starting tomorrow. So whoever's online, please do that every day. Watch the videos and read the readings. I'm telling you, that along with the gratitude were the two big things that changed my life. Because the gratitude changes the neural pathways, right? It changes my thought process. And then the identity rewires those negative thoughts, right? So it takes that negative tree, if you will, and turns it into a positive tree because of the identity that I have. So it's building the new neural paths, and then so when we understand our identity. So again, I would strongly recommend that you go through that identity series and really believe it for yourself. Because the definition of faith is agreeing with God's opinion about you. If God says you're holy, you're blameless, you're perfect, you're my body, I chose you, you're my bride, that's not something I just made up. That's something he's telling me. So faith is saying, oh, okay, wow, you think about that about me? All right, I agree. Now go live that way. Go live according to that understanding, that belief of the way God believes in you. So, Joe, as I'm reading, sin is going against yourself. It is a path away from ourselves and our own happiness. And I totally agree with that. So the way I thought of sin was, if I committed it, then God would punish me. But in a sense, I'm punishing myself, and I have to live with the consequences of the sins that I commit. And it's not God punishing me. Now, what he does say is that all things work together for good, and that he's there with us. And in fact, here's a weird way to think about it is when you're sinning, when you're doing something stupid, God is in you doing it with you. Now, he might be in there screaming and yelling, saying, that's not a good idea, you better not do that, but he's there. He's never going to leave you, never going to forsake you. There's no separation at all. So when you think about, hey, God, you're in this with me together, and I'm doing this stupid thing. So it adds even a different element, because why would I want to do that? Why would I want to bring God into this situation? So that's another way to look at it. Yeah, and Rashi, liberation is exactly right. So anyways, I've been talking a lot. I love talking about this subject. It brings peace. It brings heaven to earth. If you ask the question, what's the definition of heaven? Heaven is where God is, right? So back in 2011, I was thinking, all right, I'm only going to be good. I'm only going to be perfect, because I heard some of those verses, but it's not until I die. It's not until I get to heaven. Then I'll get a new body, and I'm going to be, everything's going to be great. Everything's going to be good. But guess what? If heaven is where God is, where is God right now? He's right here. He's in my heart. So by the definition of heaven is where God is, then heaven is in me. And I am walking around in heaven right now because God is in me. And there's no separation. He's with me wherever I go. And that brings comfort and peace beyond all understanding. All right, so it's 7:05. Again, I've been talking a lot. Is there anything that, any other questions or anything that you would like to ask? So while I'm waiting for maybe a question, is our goal here with the six, and we call ourselves the Magnificent Six, right? And it's kind of a silly name, but it's one that actually my wife gave us. She said, "Why don't you call you guys?" We were trying to think of a name, the 100-Fold Journey, or the 100-Fold Ministry. What we were thinking of, and when I mentioned to my wife, well, there's six of us. Well, why don't you call them the Magnificent Six? I said, yeah, that's a good idea. But then we ended up still with the 100-Fold Journey, but the Magnificent Six stuck for the six of us. So anyways, yeah, thanks, Joe. Appreciate that. So I think we'll give it. We'll stop at 7:10. How's that? In 4 more minutes. I see there's 6 people online, and thank you so much for joining us. I mean, this is amazing to have 6 people. This is our very first Facebook Live. What do you call it? Facebook Live. And so thank you. We were kind of little difficulties in the beginning, so thank you for your patience. But more importantly, thank you for showing up. We want to be able to be a resource for you. Um, the idea about the website is that then you can reach out to specific people. And if there was something that was said about, that stuff about meditating, I'd really like to get some more information about meditating, then you know that that's Katie. Hey, Katie, tell me a little bit more about meditation, because I've never heard it explained like Doug did. Can you help me with that? Or if there's something about the mind and the dendrites and the neural pathways in your brain and how that works, you can reach out to Rich and say, hey, Rich, tell me about this Caroline leaf and switch on your brain. What is that all about? So that's the whole idea, is to come alongside of you and to bring you freedom from the religious bondages that I was under, and I know many of us have been, and in fact, a lot of the staff as well, our leadership have come out from under the religious bondage. So that's the idea, and to help anybody that is looking to find maybe their new purpose in life, and they're tired of doing the same old thing, because that's what I was doing, the same old thing. I was Bible study and confession and going to church, and all of it was in view of pleasing God. But in reality, I was burning myself out because it was all about doing, not resting. All right, so 7:09. I think we're good here. Just checking, just make sure there's no other questions. All right. So again, thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate each and every one of you. I'm always available on a Facebook post or on an email at our 100-fold journey. So we'll be looking for you and looking to come alongside to help. So that's it for now. And again, 21 Days of Identity starts tomorrow morning. So please grab that, if you're printing out those little readings, print those out, read them, continue to do the 10 blessings in the morning. So you're waking up at morning with gratitude, and then at night, before you go to bed, you're finding that one thing that you're most grateful for throughout the day. And you're thanking God for that. So you're going to bed at night and you're waking up with gratitude. All right, so thanks again. Bye for now.